Welcome to Cardinals Cover 2 with Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki. Cardinals Cover 2 is brought to you by Arizona Cardinals Podcasts. Visit azcardinals.com/podcasts. From the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, here's Craig Grialou and Mike Jurecki.
Well, we have reached the home stretch. After this week, MJ, we won't see any players until the end of July and the start of training camp. That's right, the final week of offseason strength and conditioning program. The 3-day minicamp begins on Tuesday, and then it's goodbye for a little while. Not for us, but for
exactly
the important people in this building.
Yeah, and the rookies will be here, anybody rehabbing. But, school's out, right, for the summer.
Absolutely.
And, hopefully guys will take advantage of some downtime, but obviously get ready for training camp.
Did you see school already ended, though, for the Patriots?
Yes. They had their mini camp last
Correct.
week, and they had 2 OTAs left. And, Belichick, remember, he was at the parade, no days off. So they did some team bonding today and tomorrow.
So you're saying he gave them some days off?
From on the field, but they still had to show up at the facility.
Yeah, so, look, it pays when you're winning not only games, but playoff games and Super Bowl. So, yeah.
I don't think anybody's going to question what they do in the offseason.
No, and let's put it this way. Let's hope the Cardinals are one day in this position to where you can sit there and say, you know what, you've shown enough, you've done enough, we'll see you in July.
Yeah, and first-time head coaches, you obviously want to take advantage of all of your offseason workouts, including the 10 OTAs and your 3-day minicamp. Maybe next year, and Coach Wisenhunt did it when they rented out the theater in Flagstaff, and I think the Buccaneers went like paintballing, and
some teams do bowling.
Yeah, and a lot of times it's this team bonding where you want to spend time with each other. Obviously, they spend a lot of time. So, maybe next year if Cliff sees that his team is making progress, and obviously, I don't know if you can just do that in your first year. I'm not saying he's going to give them 2 days off, but they're still going to be doing something, but it'd be a team-oriented event.
It is a Monday here from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center. And with that, let's take off and let you know what's ahead here on the show this afternoon. Respect. Kyler Murray has earned it, and earned it quickly. Speaking of Murray, why head coach Cliff Kingsbury believes the NFL stage is not too big for the rookie quarterback who put MJ to work today, how he sees the depth chart right now. New offensive tackle Marcus Gilbert joins the show, and of course your questions via social media using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2. We'll get to those later on in the show, and for those watching us on Facebook, we'll get to those as well here. Always appreciate the Bird Gang sounding off. We do it every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. But first things first, the news of the day. And before the team hits the field for this mandatory minicamp tomorrow, players and coaches were in front of the cameras today. That's right, it was media day, and it was a very early start for the players and coaches. Not for us, but for just about everyone else who was, again, the important people in this building. Here this morning, bright and early. I believe it started all at 6 a.m., but still photos, headshots, candid shots, and then, of course, videos, both what you see on television and then within the stadium. So a lot of work, and this is part of it. I mean, it's not just on the field, but everything else that fans like to see. That was part of what today was.
Yeah, we've seen these guys in their practice uniforms, and maybe a few of these rookies that got invited to the NFLPA game. But it's nice to see him, maybe some newcomers and guys that were here, see him in uniform. Obviously, you look at David Johnson, and a lot of guys have personality, Chandler Jones. So they like to have fun with the camera, and DJ Swearingen's another guy. So, it's just, again, you don't want to do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday because obviously the focus is on the field. So this is the day you can get away with it.
Now, one of the candid shots that Mark Dalton was the first one that I saw posted, the vice president of media relations, and in the Cardinals Twitter account retweeted it as well. It was Chandler Jones and Terrell Suggs together. And there it is for those watching right now. And you got the veteran, 2 veterans, but you got the older veteran and then the younger veteran. But Dalton's tweet was combined. Terrell Suggs, Chandler Jones, 209.5 career sacks.
Wow.
Between those two. And then a lot of people noticed it on social media, but the pose reminiscent of the Step Brothers movie poster with Will Ferrell and John C. Reilly. And I don't between those two, which one's Will Ferrell? Not how they're posed, but I mean, Who's the funniest?
I would say, well, I haven't covered Suggs like I've covered
That's
Chandler,
true.
so I think he's more comfortable with Suggs. He's going to be his own person and be his
Although,
own
I mean,
man.
in this picture right here, Suggs he's got the big grin.
Yeah.
I'm still waiting for our graphics guy, Jackson Sipes, to make the movie poster out of that photo. So maybe that'll be coming Wednesday. But, as a nod to that movie, quarterbacks will not have a lot of room for activities with those two rushing off the edge.
Yeah, see, you mentioned this earlier before the show started, Elms, and it, like that line from the movie completely flew over my head because I didn't see the movie. I've only seen like clips.
All right, show's over. See you Monday. See you Wednesday.
And I knew I'm gonna get killed because it's one of those movies that when you always, when it comes on, you watch it, and it's hysterical. Any Will Ferrell movie is very, very funny. That's in my opinion.
Man, he's made a killing.
All right, besides Step Brothers, what's the one movie that everyone says you haven't seen that? What is that? Mine's The Godfather. Never seen it. Don't even care to.
See, but there's a lot of people because as we get older here. There are people that have not watched Star Wars.
I was going to say I'm one of them.
Oh, there we go. See?
Star Trek, Star Wars.
Right here.
Avengers.
How about this? One of our former interns, we'll have to send her this clip. Natalia, I'm putting you on blast. She said she had never seen Back to the Future. She'd never even heard of it.
See that.
I'm like, what?
Yeah. See, we're in that interesting age category of this group where we're not too old, but we're older, and now all of a sudden there's this new generation coming that just doesn't know about what we grew up on.
Like the Breakfast Club.
Yeah, stuff like. Although I
summer school.
I just watched that within the last 3 or 4 months.
First time?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of great actors and actresses in there.
They
were young.
There's a lot out there.
Yeah.
So
Depends
it is hard
what
to
you're
watch
looking
all
for.
of it. Yeah. But a good job by the crew here earlier today, and a lot of it we'll see over the next coming weeks and months ahead as far as what was done here on Media Day.
All right, if I told you right now both of those guys between Suggs and Jones, would you sign up for 25 sacks? 15 and 10, or maybe 12 and a half, 12 and a half?
A sack a game. You figure the goal for Chandler Jones would be a sack a game, average. So you're looking at 16.
And the last time he played in the 3-4, he had 17, led the NFL.
And then with Suggs, knock on wood, stays healthy. He's on the field. He was on the field for better than 70% of the snaps last year.
72% last year.
So if you can get up to maybe 8, 9, and you have to account for both of these guys.
Yeah, one's going into a 17th season, though. He's a little up there in age.
But still effective.
Still effective. And just having him on the field, he's a threat because you're not going to – he's savvy. He's not going to see anything he hasn't been able to see before. And he's gone against guys in that division, with obviously Roethlisberger. You throw in even when Flacco was on his own team. But, you look in that division as a whole, though, he's gone against a really good offensive lineman, too. So I think he'll be a factor just him being on the field. But I would sign up for 25 sacks amongst the two.
And his technique and that experience.
Well, exactly.
And you can be a lot better than someone who might be a little bit more stronger than you.
Or he's just going to beat you on a bull rush when you thinking he's going to go inside. He's going to try to go through you versus going on the outside. So, yeah, I'm not worried about him. And obviously, he was here for picture day today, and he'll be here for the next 3 days. And it's important that he gets on the field just before we get the training camp. I don't know how much we're going to see him in the preseason. We know what he can do, plug-and-play guy from day one.
25 sacks between those two guys wouldn't be bad, but it would be bad if one had 24 and the other had 1. You want to be around the same, so, hey, pressure's coming from everywhere.
And then teams are going to start chipping and doubling one guy. And again, Chandler looks great. I mean, body-wise, 250, 255. He may play at 258. I mean, these guys lose weight when they're on the practice field. So, yeah, I mean, to me, I want to see, like it was a few years ago when Marcus Gilbert and Chandler Jones double digits in sacks. That would mean you're getting the quarterback off the spot and possibly getting some sacks and turnovers.
It's certainly going to be fun to watch those two on the field. What also was fun was watching Kyler Murray earlier today as far as Media Day, and he actually grabbed one of the cameras for a brief period of time.
What's up, Cardinals fans? We're here at Media Day with my boy, Keyshawn. Yeah, Bird Gang, that way. Yeah.
You hear him say that way, but look, you keep walking because we've got stuff for you to do. And my guess is that most of the veterans got their stuff done whenever they wanted to or earlier in the day, get it out of the way and let the rookies hang around, because a lot of the rookies, they actually are now working right now as we speak as far as in the weight room. So they didn't quite have a free day, but everyone was here for a number of different activities and different rooms throughout as far as what needed to be either shot or filmed.
So normally it's the early bird gets the worm. So rookies, obviously they have a van that picks them up, takes them to the facility, and so if a veteran guy comes in at 7:30, he's going to pass the line. That's just how it is. And then when that rookie's a 5-year vet or a 10-year vet, he can jump the line too.
Now, some of these guys really enjoy the camera, like a Chandler Jones, a DJ Swearinger, and then I haven't seen any video of Fitz, but I'm just guessing that some of the picture, Fitz doesn't strike me as someone who's going to sit there and dance like a Chandler Jones or David Johnson in front of the camera. He just take my picture and let me go. But I've never seen Fitz dance. We've seen him spike the football.
Yeah,
but
that was because his son didn't show up.
But he doesn't have a celebration dance.
No, I mean he's
because he's so used to it.
Well, not only that, but he learned it from Barry Sanders.
That's true.
He just
act like you've been there before.
Yeah, just hand the ball to the official.
Yeah.
And Barry did it his entire career, and Larry only one time he spiked it.
Last season.
Yep.
azcardinals.com for more of the behind-the-scenes footage from today, and we'll get into more of it a little bit later on this week as well. But the players will be on the field starting tomorrow.
This team's got some swag. Now,
absolutely.
You better back it up on the football field.
True.
Because you can have all the swag and you get to the stadium, you better show up. But this, you could, again, I being here and Craig and I getting a chance to work here now, close to a year, you could just see the excitement in the building, and guys are buying in, and that can only help this team moving forward when it comes to camaraderie and just the brotherhood they have in the locker room.
Well, it's the newness, the new faces,
exactly.
And the new additions.
It's a good mixture.
You've got guys who have done it before, Terrell Suggs, DJ Swearinger, and the newness with the Kyler Murray and all the rookies that they have brought in as far as the pass catchers are concerned. More with Murray, and this was something that azcardinals.com captured last week, and it, to me, shows just how much of an impact Murray has made in a short amount of time with his teammates, especially the veterans.
You see it? You see it?
That's that guy right there.
Trying to give him some work today.
Hey, just wait on it. Just wait on it.
Appreciate you.
Mm-hmm. And the wait ends September 8th, week 1.
That's right.
But there is, as you mentioned, the excitement level, just because, and you would expect that at that position, but when you have a rookie come in and he's not very flashy, not very vocal, but it just seems like there's a lot of people that not only have confidence in him, but have belief in what he can do and what he's shown already on the field.
Listen, I don't mean to be redundant here, but when Larry mentioned that he knows the offense better than a lot of these guys, if not all of them, and the fact that he did play at Texas A&M and then he throw in Oklahoma, I mean, without Kingsbury hire, we're not having this conversation. So the fact that in any rookie, I don't care who you are, you drafted first overall, a first-round pick, second-round pick, usually you probably didn't take a whole lot of snaps under center. You've probably been in the spread offense probably since high school, including college, and now you get to this level. So, but the fact is that he's further in the process. To me, there's going to be some growing pains. There's going to be a learning curve. But I like the fact that when he hears stuff, it's going to ring to where I know what to do with this now. It's just a matter of executing the play.
And I think that's why this is a perfect marriage with head coach and quarterback, because of their history, not together, but just the history of their backgrounds, similar backgrounds as far as what they've been taught, what they've learned offensively. And I think it goes a long way in what the hope is happens this season and years to come, is that this team hits the ground running. Hopefully it equates to wins, but it's not an offense that is unfamiliar to Murray, and then it just takes him longer to kind of catch up and then figure out what he does best within that scheme.
Yeah, I don't think this is a quick fix, and that's why, we focus so much on the offense, and obviously when you draft 3 wide receivers, out of 11 picks, and you take Kyler Murray and trade Josh Rosen, there's going to be a lot of hype and high expectations. I think we need to temper it, and that's why with going back to a 3-4, unfortunately they're not going to have Patrick Peterson for the first 6 weeks, is that this defense, I want to see these guys come out and put pressure on the quarterback, stop the run, and that will alleviate some of the pressure of trying to score 25 or 30 points per game.
With respect to Murray, we've heard, and we've said it here on this show, we've heard people say it, that this moment, this stage is not too big for him. Let's take you back to an earlier episode of the Kingsbury Chronicle podcast, speaking with Paul Calvisi and Lisa Matthews on how's Murray's high school success. Remember, 3 straight high school state championships, never lost a game, has prepared Murray for this moment that awaits him here in 2019.
That's huge. I mean, he's one of the biggest high schools in the state, one of the best programs in the country, and the way he handled that every week, everybody's coming at him, and they're getting their best shot. And some of the comeback wins he had there were incredible. But yeah, we mentioned it before, but his dad is very, very competitive and has raised him to be very competitive and mentally tough and tough-minded, and you see that in the way he plays the game and the way he handles himself.
Now, look, the spotlight on an NFL game on a game day on Sunday is much different than in college or at the high school level, but Allen High School in Texas, and if you don't believe me, look it up, they get more attention than some colleges, not only in the state of Texas, but around the country. And this is someone, talking about Kyler Murray, who has played with that spotlight on him since day one. And all he's done, outside of a brief blip at Texas A&M, has been successful.
Yeah, and I agree. I don't think it's too big for him. I mean, just think, he's gone through his entire life where being the guy. So it's not like he's stepping into an arena or the octagon and thinking, I'm not built for this. I think he's built for this, and I would give his father credit, Kevin. The fact that he showed him how to throw a baseball and a football at the age of 6 or 7, I got to think, that this is something they consider, that he wanted to be a two-sport star, and then obviously he fell in love with football. But, yeah, I mean, I don't think it's too big for him, just because when you've been – and it's not so much being patted on the back. He's been great at every single level. I mean, 1 year starter, he wins the Heisman.
Well, and even just look at his success on the baseball diamond.
Yeah, exactly.
And baseball is a game of failure.
Yes, I mean, guys hit 270, and that means, every 7 out of 10 times they're not putting the ball in play. Yeah, but I don't think it's too big for him, just because, like I said, if he was like the first round pick, and he only had 13 less amount of starts. Now he's played 4 games at Texas A&M,
yeah,
and then he was a full-time starter. I just think, based on what he's accomplished in his career just up until this point, and he's just scratching the surface, I just don't think it's too big for him. I really don't.
And, of course, we'll all see it coming up week 1 on September 8th. As we continue here on a Monday afternoon, as we broadcast from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Center, and doing so in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information. And a reminder, if you ever miss a show, feel free to download as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Cardinals podcasts can be found at azcardinals.com/podcasts. Well, this week, mandatory minicamp. It's 3 days, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday. Brings an end to the offseason strength and conditioning program that began all the way back on April 8th. Next for these players after this Thursday is training camp. So there's going to be about a 5-6 week window between this week and the end of July. But where things stand right now is what we want to focus on, and that is we're going to make Mike Jurecki general manager for a day, actually only for the next 10 minutes or so, to talk about what he believes right now here on June 10th, 2019. So I'm not going to hold you to it, but the projected depth chart, not the 53-man roster, but how you see the 2 deep offense, defense, and special teams, at least by what you've seen, what you've read, and what you've heard.
Okay, so I do think the Cardinals will likely keep 2 quarterbacks on the active roster. Obviously, Kyler Murray is a starter, Brett Hundley. They also have, 2 other quarterbacks in camp. One, obviously, or if not one of the 2 between Knopf and Anderson, they could be a practice squad. So if you look at the depth chart just from the quarterback position, I would go Murray and Brett Hundley. Now, as for the running back position, I do think they could keep 3 or 4. And we look at that, obviously, it starts with David Johnson, Chase Edmonds, and then we'll see where TJ Logan and a guy like DJ Foster ends up. Now, wide receiver, this is interesting because we focused so much on Andy Isabella, Hakeem Butler, Keyshawn Johnson, Kevin White. But I'm here to tell you that, when it comes to competition, and I think they're going to keep 7, and I think Trent Sherfield is a guy that, he plays on special teams, so he's got a great opportunity I don't know if he's going to be active on game day, to make the 53-man roster. So if I had a guess right now, or at least an educated guess on the 4 receivers, Fitzgerald, Kirk, Keyshawn Johnson, I'm told that he's really a good route runner. We heard that from Steve Keim on draft day. And then you got Damiere Byrd and Farrell Cooper. Now, I didn't mention Isabella or Hakeem Butler.
That doesn't mean that they're not making the team.
No.
We're just talking about the too deep as far as who plays and in their backup.
Right, exactly. And then, so I think they'll keep 7, but I listed 4 right now. And the reason why I mentioned Damiere Byrd and Farrell Cooper is I think both of those guys will get a chance to return punts, if not kickoffs. And that means if you're going to be that 4th or 5th receiver on game day, you're likely going to have to be a returner. So that's where we are with the wide receivers. Again, I think all 3 of the rookie wide receivers will make the roster.
And sometimes maybe just start initially on special teams and try to get a feel for the speed of the game, and then continue to work out as far as a receiver if you don't think that right now they're your top 4, top 5.
Agree. Okay, tight end, I think they keep 3. I think Ricky Seals-Jones is still in the mix, but I would go with Charles Clay and Max Williams. Both can do a little bit of blocking and catch the ball. I don't know how much we're going to see the tight ends. We could see 11 personnel where you got 3 wide, 1 tight, 1 back. We could see 4 wide spread with the running back in the game. So right now I think they keep 3, but I would put Charles Clay and Max Williams, guys that definitely have experience, as the 2 tight ends. Our offensive line, obviously open competition at center with Mason Cole and A.Q. Shipley. The starting 5, we'll just have to wait and see. These guys need to be healthy. DJ Humphries, left tackle. Justin Pugh, left guard. I got Cole in there at center. J.R. Sweezy at right guard. Marcus Gilbert at right tackle. The backups, Corey Cunningham, Kobe Gossett, A.Q. Shipley, and Max Garcia.
Now, this is the one position group that needed, I won't say maybe the most work, but certainly needed to be addressed here this offseason. And still I'm reading and hearing people either write or say that it's not the big question mark, but not enough was done to address the offensive line. And I don't know what more you can do when you acquire a Marcus Gilbert, you sign a J.R. Sweezy, you sign a Max Garcia. Now, I understand that a lot of the names that we have here and that were brought in, they've had injury issues. But you can go across the NFL and look at teams in their offensive line and figure out who has injuries. But a Humphries, a Pugh, even Gilbert, they all ended last season on IR, and that doesn't make a lot of people not happy, but as far as confident in what they're going to do next season. You throw in A.Q. Shipley coming off an ACL, so I understand why there might be concern. I have questions, but to say the offensive line has not been addressed, that's inaccurate.
Yeah, I agree with you. And then the fact that he re-signed A.Q. Shipley last year after he tore his ACL, he's going to be in competition there. Max Garcia is still rehabbing from a torn ACL. Corey Cunningham should be available for camp. And then we'll see if any of the rookies can make the roster. Obviously, you look at the offensive line, they can use an extra guard or possibly a center, depending on competition in the interior.
Yeah, the 2 rookies, Lamont Gilliard and Josh Miles, round draft picks.
I think Lamont Gilliard, I think he's got a better chance. I don't know if he'll be active on game day. I think they'll dress 8, and depending on who wins the center spot, and then Garcia and Corey Cunningham.
Yeah, depth certainly an issue last season with this team. We know how many offensive linemen played, how many different offensive line combinations there were, especially late in the season. But it has been addressed, and it was addressed as far as the coach is concerned as well. Brand new offensive line coach in Sean Kugler. And earlier with Bickley and Murata on 98.7 FM, Arizona Sports Station, he was asked how he feels about the depth at offensive line.
I think our depth is better. You also have to train guys to play two different positions. Injuries are going to happen in the game, especially on the offensive line. It's a very physical position. So you can't be surprised when that happens. So you only have 7 guys dressed on game day. So your interior guy, he needs to be able to play center and guard. Your exterior guy needs to play guard and tackle. We got in a similar situation last year in Denver. All 3 of our interior guys were put on IR mid-season, and we had to finish the entire season. And luckily for us, we trained those guys from day one to be prepared for a situation like that. So you don't want injuries to happen. You can't predict when it's going to happen, but when it does happen, you got to be prepared.
And that's why you hear the phrase position versatility is huge, especially along the offensive line, because if you are active on game day, you better be prepared to play 1, 2, maybe even 3 different positions if pressed upon.
Yeah, and he mentioned only 7 on game day, and that means maybe you're dressing another wide receiver, or maybe you got.
And it might depend on your injury situation as a whole leading into that week,
right? Because you got to have bodies now. Before I'll mention we mentioned the defense, because there's really 3 or 4 guys that are going to make this team because they excel on special teams.
All right, let's move to the defensive side of the ball and how you see, again, this is just General Manager Mike Jurecki's projection.
I got like 4 more minutes, right?
Okay. and then we quote-unquote fire you.
Have the Jets filled their job?
Oh, there we go.
And the
There's been a lot of NFL media types that have had their names attached to general manager jobs around the league, so we might throw your name out there.
I don't want to go on that hot seat. I like working with you guys. All right, so defensively, we talked about Darius Philon. He was a free agent pickup from the Los Angeles Chargers. Corey Peters, steady Eddie in the middle, great leader in that locker room. And then Rodney Gunter, who the Cardinals were able to bring back when the offseason workouts started. I do think Zach Allen's going to get a chance to play. He's a high motor guy, high energy guy. Maybe we can kind of compare him to a Kyle Vanden Bosch. Miles Brown is an undrafted free agent. This guy is thick. I think he could be the backup nose tackle. Again, they're playing a 3-4, so they'll probably only keep 7 D linemen, where last year they kept almost 8 or 9. And then you throw in Terrell McLean. Obviously, Robert Nkemdiche would be the backup, but we don't know his status going into the season. Curious to see if he lands on PUP, which means he could be out for training camp. I don't know what the time frame is. Anything they can get out of Nkemdiche would be a plus. Obviously, hasn't gone according to plan, even though I thought he flashed last year.
Yeah, and of course, coming off that ACL injury, so he's a huge question mark on the defensive line.
I just don't know if you can count on him, but anything he can give him, it would, even if it's week 7, week 8, I guess we'll find out, how he's moving around in training camp, and obviously they're going to try to get him ready at some point. All right, linebackers, we know the Cardinals went out and signed a few. Obviously, he's still under contract. Chandler Jones, they went out and signed Jordan Hicks to a 3-year contract. Hassan Reddick, former first-round pick. And then you throw in Terrell Suggs. And I believe the backups there behind Suggs is Brooks Reed, a guy that's another high-energy guy, probably more like Zach Allen. Dennis Gardeck will make this team just based on teams, but he's really looked a lot better. I think last year he learned what it was like to be a pro. We talk about guys making that jump from year 1 to year 2. Pete Robertson, he's a guy that I don't know a whole lot about, but obviously the Cardinals feel like he's worthy, and I think he's going to get a chance to possibly win one of those inside linebacker spots. And then you got Cameron Melville, who had a sack last year, and Cardinals actually had him playing defensive line, and he's moved to linebacker. But I think when you look at Zeke Turner, Dennis Gardeck, and Joe Walker, all those guys play on special teams, and so I would assume they'll be either second or third string behind some of those linebackers I mentioned. And again, we could have 4 or 5 guys that really excel on special teams. All right, cornerback, Patrick Peterson, Robert Alford. Slot right now, I got to have Tremaine Brock. We'll see how much he does this week, if not in training camp. And then I'm going to go with David Amerson behind Peterson. I think he could start in week 1. Chris Jones, I think he's coming on right now behind Robert Alford. And then the rookie, the second overall pick, Byron Murphy. I would say he's more of a slot guy, but obviously the Cardinals are going to play the best 3 guys out there.
Yeah, and it's the big question mark is what happens, the cornerback, how about this, opposite Robert Alford.
Yeah, exactly. We thought that we got that figured out. Safety, Budda Baker and Swearinger. And then I think Rudy Ford, what he does, another guy I can mention on special teams. And then Deontay Thompson, I think he's a hitter. I'm sure we're going to see him a lot in the preseason. So those are the 4 safeties. They could keep 5, but again, they want to keep more corners than safeties this year. based on personnel. Special teams, no-brainer here. Aaron Brewer, Andy Lee, and then Zane Gonzalez. Gonzalez's job to lose. Hopefully he can make some pressure kicks early in the season, and we're not concerned with that moving forward. As for the kick returner and punt returner, I would think Christian Kirk, but I think Christian Kirk's going to be one of the go-to wideouts this year with Larry Fitzgerald and David Johnson. It wouldn't surprise me if Kirk maybe gets 70 or 75 receptions. Nothing against Butler, Johnson, or Isabella, but I just think Kirk's ready to take that next step. He could be my breakout player offensively. So when it comes to punt return, Kirk obviously, and Craig was on it first last year. I thought he was close to breaking one, but if he's going to be your number 2 receiver and catching 70 to 75 balls for the season, I don't know if you want to put him out there. Obviously, Patrick Peterson would have the Deion Sanders rules, even though he has a tendency to – you want to make sure you catch the ball first and possibly get out of bounds, but I would like to see him try to take it back, get some field position late in the half, if not at the end of the game for a field goal. So I have Damiere Byrd and Farrell Cooper as the kick returner and punt returner, and I think Isabella will get a chance to do that. I think they want him to focus on route running and obviously catching the football.
Well, Cooper's what he did so well with the Rams, and then Bird's just got the speed, and he believes he still has that 4.3 speed, and if you're able to get out in space, then absolutely that's what you want in your return game, someone who can break one or at least give the offense short field work with.
Yeah, and they've been thoroughly impressed with him, and, Jerry Sullivan's done a really good job with these guys, but, I think guys will start to separate themselves when they put the pads on, because even though you're a receiver and you can see the guy runs the routes, I think when you put the pads on, we'll see how physical they are in getting off press coverage, and that's something to look for with these young wide receivers.
All right, you're fired.
I get fired just on the 2 deep?
Well, yeah, I told you I had a 10-minute
I know.
10-minute window
I
here.
only had 4 minutes, so I think we covered it, though. And listen, this is basically in crayon or pencil.
Well, look, we'll do it again in training camp and in around the preseason.
But I do think they want to create competition.
Well, yes.
Because they're really thrilled with Kevin White, and I'm not saying they're not still happy with him, but I was told he's been a little inconsistent as of late. Maybe he's hitting the wall, and maybe other guys are taking advantage of their opportunity. So it's always a fluid situation. And listen, at the end of the day, it's what you do when you put the pads on.
And again, this is today, June 10th. We won't hold you to it, but we'll compare as we get closer into the regular season.
I feel good about Kyler Murray.
I think Larry Fitzgerald is pretty solid in his spot, too.
Yeah, I think so.
The Cardinals not only excellent on the field, but do great work off the field and do great work in the community. And right now they're asking for you to get involved as well. In honor of its 100th season, the NFL is inviting fans to join the Cardinals players, and the other teams in a volunteer initiative called Huddle for 100. The goal of the campaign is for NFL fans to donate 100 million minutes of time to help shape what our communities will look like for the next 100 years. Those fans that do donate will be entered for a chance to win a VIP experience at the Super Bowl in Miami and other great prizes. Go to azcardinals.com/Cardinals Huddle for 100 for more information. As we continue here on this Wednesday, still to come, Bird Gang, sound off your questions via social media and as well as Facebook Live. You can use the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2 to get involved in the show. We'll do that a little bit later on. But right now, we want to talk about one of those newcomers, and specifically what we just talked about with regard to the offensive line, and that is right tackle Marcus Gilbert. First day of the new league year, the Cardinals sent a 6th-round draft pick, number 207 overall, the first of their 4 compensatory picks in the 2019 NFL Draft, to the Steelers for Gilbert. Here's an 8-year veteran, all with the Steelers, and it sounds like maybe he just needed a change of scenery, and of course the Cardinals had a need. Started 87 of 88 games, and the Cardinals very happy to have Gilbert in the fold.
Yeah, and the fact that you had some intel with Sean Kugler and James Saxon, the running backs coach. So, again, a guy that's probably, when we look at it on paper, he's probably going to want to play a couple more years. Well, he's got a golden opportunity here, even though they're trying to develop a guy like Corey Cunningham. But for the most part, as you mentioned, 87 starts, sign me up, veteran guy. Once again, just like anybody else, they got to stay healthy.
Yeah, we had a chance to speak to Gilbert after a recent practice. Well, no question the offensive line needed an upgrade this offseason, and the Cardinals did just that, acquiring tackle Marcus Gilbert. He joins us right now, and let's go back to that day when it was official, but a couple of days beforehand, you let a little tweet out that said next chapter with praying hands and smiley face emoji. What were your thoughts when that deal came down?
For me, just going through what I went through the last 2 years, I felt that, I needed a change. And the day before, whenever I got that phone call that there was a possibility I was going to get traded, I was at the hospital seeing my grandmother, and I was, back home, and it was like a sign of relief. I didn't know where I was going to be, but it was a sign of relief. And then that next day, whenever I got the news, I was like, wow, this is going to be awesome. Get to go to a new system, a great franchise, and excited for what lays to come.
Some familiar faces as well on the coaching side with Sean Kugler, James Saxon. Specifically, though, reuniting with Kugler, what do you think that's going to mean?
I mean, he's a special person in my life. He's the one that drafted me in Pittsburgh, and just working with him over the years, he helped me develop into the guy that I am today. And I'm just very excited to get back out here and working with him. And then Coach Saxton, he's a great running backs coach. He's coached all pro bowlers at the running back position, and he's very detailed, and this was a great pickup, man. Just coming here, it feels like, I've been here for a good while just with the guys and just fitting in. A great group of guys, great group of coaches, and everybody's buying in, it seems like.
Speaking of Sean Kugler, which you guys consider Cougs, I mean, what makes him so effective? Because he was a wanted man, Buffalo, Minnesota, Miami. He was in Denver last year, and Steve put the recruiting effort on him, and he wanted him here. Probably the best line coach we've had in 20 years. What makes him so effective?
Oh, man, he's a very detailed guy. He's big on offensive linemen, finishing their blocks, just protecting the quarterback, doing whatever it takes to finish plays, and just being the top line that we can be. And what's expected out of us is going to be that standard. It's going to be a high standard, and he's one of the best out there. Being around him for a number of years, I know what he wants, and I'm just trying to relate it to the guys. And so far, these rookies, for being around the league for 8-9 years, this is the quickest rookies to come in and learn the offense this fast. And it shows with the coaching and then the individuals we do out here on the field.
You play with a quarterback that held the ball and very effective doing that, and you probably didn't know when he was going to throw, so you had to continue your block. Here it's going to be a little bit different. So just talk about, they want to get rid of the ball quick. They want to spin it down the field, get guys in space. What are your thoughts on the offense so far?
Well, just going back in college and seeing Kyler, he's held the ball, and he turned it into, like, big gains down the field. So our mentality as offensive linemen, there's no clocks. Even if it's a quick pass, we know that if we extend it, could be a huge play, and this guy has the special mechanics and dynamics to come in there and do anything with his feet or with his arm. He's probably the best rookie I've seen, just getting the ball out, picking up plays really easily, and he's becoming more effective, especially in the leadership role.
Is there much of an adjustment for you guys on that offensive line when you have a quarterback that maybe you think is behind you, and then in a split second later it's to your left or to your right?
No. That's his offensive line. You have to finish your blocks. That's what we're coached on doing, and just being finishers and protect them at all costs. And we know, the stats last year, but last year was last year. We want to make this year offensive line a non-issue. And I told a lot of guys, we're going to go as far as the team goes. So, as long as we take care of our business, our offense, and we'll be fine.
All right, let's talk about this offensive line, because along with you, DJ Humphries, bookends from Florida, got Max Garcia as well. Anyone else there that that the Cardinals are missing from Florida?
Oh man, I think there's a guy out here named Matt Starks. He's around here somewhere. I believe that he can come right in and fit right into this offense. He's a big fella. Luckily he's around the corner, so maybe I should give him a call and have him come out here and do a couple of pass sets with us and see if he can come back and make it for on the line.
How are you guys getting along in that offensive line room?
Oh man, we're excited, man. We the guys there is a special group of guys. And it all starts with the foundation of our coaches and Coach Kugler, what he expects out of us. We want to make it a little bit more of a camaraderie thing, guys, hanging out on their off time, going over to each other's houses, getting to know each other's wives and girlfriends, dinners. The closer we are together, the better we'll play. And I feel like all 5 of us play as one, and that's a big job at task. Man, this in this league, you have really great pass rushers. They're paying the top dollars to get after the quarterback and stop the run. And if we're not in cohesiveness together, then it won't show. But I think we've been doing that. We've been improving every day, and I like where this line's heading.
All right, you've blocked for some Hall of Fame running backs. You talked about the running backs coach, James Sexton. Let's talk about David Johnson. We know what he did in 2016. He's capable of putting up 1,000 yards rushing, more than that, maybe 1,400, possibly 8 to 1,000 yards receiving. What do you see from him?
The difference between him and the running backs I had in the past, this guy can read a hole so fast and he can hit it downhill. And I noticed that on film, years past watching the Cardinals offense. He's a special dynamic player, man. He's you can put him in the same category as Le'Veon Bell. That's a special talent, and I'm just lucky to have a running back like that. Not too many teams can go out there and say they have a running back that special. They can catch the ball, and they can run the ball, can hit the lanes, and make a minimum play into a splash play.
What's been the adjustment for you now that you're in Arizona?
Nothing really, man. It's nothing that you need to get adjusted to because it's great weather. The people are awesome. Coming here, I told you, just getting here just feels like I've been here already for a good while, and everybody welcomed me with open arms. The fans are awesome. The staff is great. The training staff, this is probably the best strength staff I've had in a long time. Just get my body right. I feel like my body is where it needs to be. It hasn't been the past couple of years, and just coming here and working with Buddy Morris has been a game changer. And I could tell just coming out here on this field and how quickly I was able to get out there and perform.
You haven't seen any snakes or scorpions yet?
Oh man, I haven't, but I've been on the lookout for them. So that's one of my big things I need to watch out for. But other than that, hopefully it's not another issue where I'm at. I'm pretty much in the central location, so not by the mountains.
All right, well, we'll let you get out on this. We believe in equal time here on Cards Covered 2. And back in March, when the Cardinals added Terrell Suggs, found a picture online. I'm going to show it to you here. It's from 2014, and Ben Roethlisberger is trying to separate you and Suggs. And I asked him then, and I'll ask you the same question. Is there going to be an issue between a former Steeler and a former Raven now on this roster?
When we signed him, my biggest thing was like, damn, like I hated that guy for 8 years, but I'm glad we have him. You have a guy like this that's going to be, the foundation of that defense, and just speaks his leadership, what he's done in Baltimore. You want him on your side. So I'm glad those years are well behind us,
Well, he said the same thing about you. Quote, he's definitely a good pickup. I'm glad to be his teammate. So you guys reuniting or on the field under different circumstances here in Arizona.
Oh, yeah. He's familiar here, and I'm just glad to have him back here so he can, finish a career out here, and I can just, see what he can do out here and him to get around these young guys and show them the way. You need a guy like that running this defense.
Cardinals are glad to have you as well. Once again, appreciate a couple of minutes, and best of luck this season.
Hey, thank you so much, guys.
It's funny, the two biggest acquisitions this offseason from the Steelers, from the Ravens, and it just so happens the Cardinals are playing both teams this season.
Perfect. Week 2.
Absolutely. Yeah, Baltimore.
Yep. Then we get the Steelers a little bit late in the season. I think back-to-back weeks against the Browns.
Yeah, later in the season, during that gauntlet.
It was a couple of things refreshing. Talked about the staff. Tom Reed said his body's right. And again, he's dealt with some injuries. Talked about Buddy Morris, who obviously players respect. And just because you have to be here, some guys come here on their own time. He feels like it's home. He feels like he's been here for a couple of years. So that to me is refreshing to where you buy in. And you never know. I mean, obviously in Pittsburgh, very successful franchise. They don't cut corners. But he talked about the medical staff here and the training staff and obviously the upgrades that they made over the years when it comes to the food in the cafeteria, taking care of your body. So that's refreshing. And players talk. And obviously you got to play well and you got to stay healthy. But players talk. Listen, Phoenix is the destination for free agents, and I don't think they've ever had now that they are in their State Farm Stadium, the revenue streams have completely changed. They're able to acquire free agents. And, again, players do talk around the league about, what's this team doing versus this team?
Well, as goes the offensive line.
Yeah.
Goes the
100%.
Arizona Cardinals. I mean,
Yeah.
and that goes for a lot of teams out there.
Well, if you want to be competitive and if you're going to run the spread offense, you have to protect the edges, and that's meaning you're going to have to protect Murray, because that's when teams start teeing off if you want to go 4 wides. But I think the Cardinals and Sean Kugler, they'll have it figured out. You may not win every single matchup or one-on-one matchup, but hopefully you have more than others.
It is a Monday edition of Cards Cover 2 here from the Dignity Health Arizona Cardinals Training Centers. We broadcast in our Bose QC35s. Go to Bose.com for more information. A reminder, if you ever miss a show, download it as a podcast via Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Stitcher, Google Play Music, TuneIn, and SoundCloud. And don't forget, all of your favorite Cardinals podcasts can be found at azcardinals.com/podcasts. And with that, about we hear from the Bird Gang on this Monday afternoon. Your questions using the hashtag CardsCover2, hashtag CardsCover2. And we're going to begin Bird Gang sound off with a question via Facebook Live via Jim Alejandro.
Yeah, it's earlier we were talking about Terrell Suggs and Chandler Jones generating pass rush. We were talking about the numbers of sacks they might get. Jurecki put the number at 25 between the two of them. That, of course, that would be great. But Justin Pilarczyk, he made a good comment, good observation that their mere presence alone, even if they don't get the sack, they could create opportunities for others. So the question to you guys, where do you think the extra pass rush would come if it's not coming from those two outside rushers? What other positions?
I think you could see some up the middle maybe with the Darius Philon. Zach Allen, depending on how many snaps he gets, if you're just looking at defensive linemen, I could see them maybe with a little bit more than perhaps normal, especially if you're inside going in between center and guard.
Yeah, I 3 guys stick out to me. Hassan Reddick, because we know deep down he can rush the passer. Now, he obviously, he's going to have to cover some tight ends down the seam. I think DJ Swearinger, depending on down and distance, you can have him creep into the box, come off the edge, take the quarterback off his spot. Whereas, as Jimmy and the listener pointed out, Justin, that at some point you're going to have to chip a guy, so that could free a guy up. And I think Budda Baker. I think Budda Baker's another guy. And obviously Jordan Hicks is really for the run stopping ability and calling the defense. So I would say Reddick, Swearinger, and Budda Baker. And it wouldn't surprise me if they use this corner off the edge. If you're in man press coverage, or if you're going to play zone where you're going to have safety help, have a guy come off the edge. Patrick Peterson did it last year. Robert Alford could do it. David Amerson is 6'1", 61 starts in his career. He gets his arms up, he may be able to deflect the ball. But I would say Reddick, Budda Baker, and Swearinger could come off the edge or up the middle to put some pressure on the quarterback.
Good question. How about we stay with Facebook Live? Some more questions. Frankie Tapaha Jr. wants to know, I know we just barely finished OTAs, but do you guys think that teams in the NFC West are scheming or possibly implementing some things on the defensive side to game plan for Kyler Murray?
Yeah, the Cardinals only have one division game in the first 6 games, and the reason why I bring up 6 is because of Patrick, and that's against the Seahawks at home. So that means they got 5 games after that. I'm assuming it, until they put enough stuff on film, and I don't know how much you're going to see in the preseason. I think you got to go back to Texas A&M film. You got to go back to Texas Tech film with Kingsbury, and then I think you got to go back to Lincoln Riley film with Kyle Murray there at Oklahoma. So the Cardinals put a spy on Russell Wilson earlier in his career. The only problem with that is you take a guy out of coverage. So I got to think once we get 4 games in the books, other teams will have a better read on what the Cardinals are trying to accomplish.
Well, that one team they do play in those first 6 weeks that is a divisional opponent is Seattle.
Correct.
And with Russell Wilson up there, that defense, and maybe not so much the players because there's been a lot of turnover,
right?
But that coaching staff is going to know, or at least get their team maybe not ready, but as prepared as possible, trying to figure out Kyler Murray.
Yeah, and we'll see what the Ravens do. Obviously, they've changed a lot of faces on defense. Went out and got Earl Thomas. Tony Jefferson's back there this year. They got some corner help, so it'd be interesting. But for the most part, I just think when you look at the situation, I just think teams are going to have to try to figure out how you're going to stop him, or if not, contain him.
All right, another question from Facebook Live. Aaron Lamelli. How does Andy Isabella compare to other NFL receivers? And he's asking for a player comp.
Well, according to Cliff Kingsbury, when he was at the Derby, he spoke to both Danny Amendola and Wes Welker, and that's been the biggest comp. He's wearing number 89 in honor of Steve Smith Sr., who had a 16-year career, tough guy, ran the routes across the middle, was able to get to the outside. So, according to Kingsbury, more Amendola and Wes Welker.
Brandon Cooks has been brought up as well.
Yes, because of the speed. He ran a 4.35 or 4.35. So Cooks is a guy. I think Cooks is a little bit faster out of his breaks, but that's not. I think he's got some of those similar traits.
Adrian Wilson's quote about Andy Isabella from the Big Red Rage earlier this year was that Isabella is a, quote, souped-up Danny Amendola.
There you go. Quote. And A-Dub would know because he scouted these players.
Let's hope he knows.
He's not going to say something he doesn't believe in it.
All right, one more question from Facebook Live. We love A-Dub. I'm sorry, the director of pro scouting.
Yeah.
Low-level position, in his words. Joel Soderberg wants to know, what is the status of Big Rob Kimdichie, and will he be ready for the regular season?
Great question. Right now he's just being able to rehab on the side. We'll know more what they how they designate him in training camp. If he's on PUP, now you can come off there at any point. If you start the season on PUP, you got to be out for 6 weeks, and then they allow you 2 weeks to practice. Considering where the Cardinals' bye week is, I would hope that we know more once we go into the season. But it's just a guess right now. I just don't know how much he's going to be able to do in training camp.
All right, let's move to Twitter as the Bird Gang is sounding off here on this Monday using the hashtag CardsCover2. At Thomas M. Payne, will teams be forced to play more zone with Murray's playing style? Will teams playing zone open things up for fits?
Possibly, yeah. I mean, I don't know if the Cardinals run the spread offense, I don't know how you can double Larry Fitzgerald. Now, we know that obviously teams had bracketed him when Rosen was in there and Christian Kirk was out because they didn't really respect the passing game. So, yeah, if they want to play zone, I think he can eat them up with the crossing routes. And then if he gets in the open field, and we've talked about his baseball background, I think if you want to play zone against this guy, you better pick your poison.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, especially initially, how this Cardinals offense, what defenses they do see, especially initially.
Because zone, you're basically protecting a certain area. And if they feel like they can exploit an area and he gets to the outside, I think he's going to be hard to catch.
Appreciate the Bird Gang signing off here on this Monday. Your questions using the hashtag CardsCover2. Hashtag CardsCover2 using the number 2 to get involved. And the show always appreciate the Bird Gang, their opinions, their observations, and we'll do it here Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Love to hear from you. And even on those off days that we don't have a show, keep those questions coming, because sometimes, when the general manager over here to my right has a free time, he'll answer those questions on social media.
Yeah, I thought maybe it was going to make the show today, but I had somebody say they got to get more offensive linemen. I'm like, they got 18. I mean,
at one point they had, I think, 22. Yeah.
Yeah, and normally you bring 15 to camp, but they could go overload here. Obviously, you can do that when you have a 90-man roster.
Well, and it just depends on how they feel at the other positions with those guys that they know for a fact are going to be on the team, and then the depth behind it.
Yeah, we got some guys that are still rehabbing, Max Garcia and Corey Cunningham. So normally you like to have 5 guys, so first, second, third string, because you want those guys to get reps if they happen to play. But if they want to go with 18, they feel that they don't want to cut a good player even if it's a practice squad guy down the road.
The highest number as far as players at a certain position group defensively is at linebacker. They've got 14 there, 10 at both cornerback and defensive line.
It makes sense when you start going back to a 3-4. You got to have depth. We talked about some of these guys will be excelling on special teams besides the starters.
That's going to wrap up this edition here of Cards Cover 2 on a Monday. Back with you on Wednesday. Remember, mandatory minicamp starts tomorrow. We'll be out and watching as much as we can. First 20 minutes open to the media. And, of course, we'll talk about it here on Wednesday. Special thanks to those behind the scenes: Tim Delaney, Jim Almohandro, Devin Henry, Jackson Sipes, my partner Mike Jurecki, sometimes general manager. I'm Craig Grialou. We'll talk to you on Wednesday here on Cards Cover 2.